Imagine surrounding yourself with incredible women who've overcome challenges, they've rebounded after failures and disappointments, and women who are not afraid to shine their brilliance to make a mark in the world. These women support other like-minded women because they know there is plenty of opportunity for everyone, and that together we really can make a difference, grow our businesses while have fun along the way. This is what Women in Leadership Podcast is all about. Welcome. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Cross. Grab a cuppa of your favourite beverage, pull up a chair, and let's get this conversation started. So welcome to another episode. So joining me on today's show is Amanda Heal. Amanda supports professional women, so women who are in corporate or even women who are working in their own business. So she helps them in shifting from feeling unfulfilled, unmotivated, unappreciated to living a life of purpose and passion that makes a real difference. Now, Amanda passionately believes that each and every one of us has been put on earth for a purpose, and finding that purpose, well, that's just what we're wired to do. And it is the thing that usually makes us happiest and most fulfilled. In fact, it was her own journey to discovering her own purpose and passion, which she's going to share a little bit more about in a moment, that led her down the path today to supporting others in doing the same. So welcome to the show, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I promised them to share a little bit about your journey in discovering your passion and purpose. And I believe you're going to take us back to your 17-year legal career. Take us back.
Sure. In fact, even a little bit further, I actually originally wanted to be a physiotherapist. And because I'm totally blind, the only place you could be trained back then was the North London School of Physiotherapy. And so I went there, and to cut a very long story short, things didn't work out. And I'm sitting in my aunt's lounge room bawling, going, I just wanted to be a physiotherapist. And she went, you've got a good brain. Why don't you become a lawyer? And so I did. Another long story short, became a lawyer. I had no idea what lawyers did, but just, it's like, and it was fun. It was good. I actually really enjoyed it. And as you said, I had a 17-year legal career as a government lawyer, working in all different departments. For the most part, I actually really enjoyed it. It was challenging. It was interesting. But then just over the last 3 or 4 years, I started to think, this really doesn't light me up anymore. And then I used to start sighing and saying, oh, there's got to be more to life than this. And then it got to the point where I was dreading getting up for work each day. It was just awful. And it just didn't light me up anymore. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't challenging. I was starting to feel resentful. Anyway, so in 2014, I was suddenly made redundant. And being blind, it can be terrifying for anyone, but being blind, has a whole heap of other complications. I can't do temp work. I couldn't, as I said in my book and a few blog posts, it's not like I could work at a supermarket until I found something else or deliver pizzas or something, So I sold skincare for a while, did it badly. Did all the sort of things you shouldn't do in sales, and lost a heap of friends and contacts. And then I retrained as a John C. Maxwell speaker, trainer, and coach. And through that process, I was started on a journey to discover my purpose, because I always knew that I was here for a reason. I think it probably goes back to my faith. Always knew that I was here for a reason, but never knew what that was. And so I started to search for my purpose. And then eventually I started working with a coach in 2018 who helped me discover that my purpose was to inspire and encourage others. And then I thought, well, how do I do that? So I do that through speaking. I do that through coaching. I do it through writing. Yeah. And my life has changed. I'm happier than I ever was. For a long time, my income was like halved. But now I just, the alarm went off this morning and I jumped up, went, yay, I get to go on a podcast and encourage people. Fantastic. So yeah, my
Yeah,
life
wonderful.
has changed.
Some of the things that you described, others may be resonating with that, Amanda, thinking, you know what? My business that I've been creating over these many years, or a career that I really have loved over many years, I too have noticed that it's starting to become unfulfilled. Things just don't motivate me anymore. I certainly don't jump out of bed thinking, yay, I get to go, and do this work again. And in actual fact, it's January 2025 as we are recording this. And for some of you, you may be thinking, I don't know if I can continue doing what I'm doing for the rest of the year. Something has to change. And in your case, Amanda, it did change. An answer came to you. You were made redundant. So, what would you say to someone who is resonating and they're thinking, you know what, I'm starting to feel some of those feelings that you have just expressed? What would you say to them?
I guess the first thing to consider is it your environment or is it what you're doing? Because sometimes you're doing the right thing, but you're just in the wrong environment. I had a coaching client who was in security and they changed from a boots on the ground security job to a policy job and they hated it. They absolutely hated it. And I worked with them and we found out that they were doing the right thing. They still loved security and all their values and interests and everything pointed towards security, but they needed to be practical. Writing policy just killed them. And now they're back doing boots on the ground security and they're loving it.
Mm.
So it might just be your environment, but it might be what you're actually doing. Does it really align with your values? Does
Yes.
it align with your interests, your skills, your strengths? Or are you living someone else's dream like I was? My
Mm.
aunt wanted me to be a lawyer. She made sure that all her um, nieces and nephews, one's a teacher, one's a doctor. Um, and she always used to joke that the youngest one was going to become prime minister. That didn't work out, but he's in retail and he's having a great time. But she wanted all her family to be high achieving professionals. And that's why she pushed me into law. And I didn't mind law, but it wasn't my dream, it was hers.
Yes. So many people have mentioned that the reason that they are following a career path is because one of their family members encouraged them to do so, or they come from a lineage of people in law, in whatever it may be, some accountants and so forth. Yet, you may, as you just said, have different values and motivations that unfortunately just don't align with what a particular field or industry would require. I'd love to just take a step back, Amanda, and ask you, how would you define purpose?
Well, purpose, it's made up of a lot of things, but as you said in the intro, it's kind of what we've been wired to do. It it's what comes naturally to us. Some people have said it's what we're wired to do. Some people have described it as a superpower.
Hmm.
It's just that thing. Like I inspire and encourage people, and I've done it all my life, and I do it without even thinking about it. And half the time, I don't even know I'm doing it. And people used to say to me, "Oh, you're so inspirational," and I go, "No, I'm just living my life." But then I discovered later on, if they find me inspiring, well, that's great. That's got nothing to do with me. That's just how they perceive me. And that's fine. If they find me encouraging, wonderful. So that's my purpose. And so your purpose is it's within you. It's part of you. It's who you are. It's part of your DNA.
Yes, yes. And so, the fact that, you inspire and empower others, that's wonderful. And you, as you mentioned, you get to do that each and every day in helping others to define and live their purpose. what I also hear is important too is that you need to enjoy what you're doing because, some of us may be working in a role where we're skilled to do that. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I trained as in accounting and bookkeeping, and I quite like doing figures. But then I came to a point where I started studying law aspect of it, and I thought, can I do this for the rest of my life? And I thought, no, not necessarily. I would much rather do something else like training, teaching, all of those things. So some people may be really good at a role and skilled at it, but still not really enjoy it.
Mm. And
And
it's
so
it's
that's where you're looking. Is that to do with also core values as well, or there's a motivational factor to do that's really important to do with it as well, with discovering your purpose?
absolutely, it's because it drives you. Your purpose is it's what makes you cry. It's what makes you it's kind of like they say in the network marketing world, your why isn't big enough unless it makes you cry. And your purpose does that too. It lights you up, it drives you, it helps you when times are tough. That's why I was able to stick to law for so long because some of my skills were, to do with problem solving, and I love solving people's problems, and I love, deep down helping people, and that was part of law, but it wasn't. So people may be good at something because they're using part of their purpose, but they're not. It isn't quite fitted in correctly. It's almost like fitting a round peg in a square hole. It sort of kind of fits, but it's a bit wobbly and it's not quite right. But once you discover your purpose, that square peg fits in the square hole. And you
Yeah.
think, oh, how did I spend so much of my life not doing this?
Hmm.
And I mean, don't get me wrong, as a business person, life gets tough. Life gets really tough on occasions, but it's my purpose that makes me um, it gives me direction. It it helps me keep going. It gives me that resilience to pick myself up from that fall I've just had and go, okay, right. Yep, let's keep going. I know the direction I have to keep going in.
Hmm. Wonderful. A question that I would love to ask you is this one. How important do you believe knowing your purpose and living your purpose is? Because can you imagine if you continued to work in that legal career? I mean, you would have still brought your best. I know that that's just who you are. But deep down inside, where you're not living that and not, having that motivation and fulfillment, how do you think that would have continued to impact you had you not made a move?
I was slowly dying inside. In fact, soon, not long before my redundancy, I was diagnosed with depression and I
Wow.
had to go on medication. And yeah, so I was slowly dying inside. I was losing my motivation. I was starting not to give it my best because I just didn't care anymore. I wasn't motivated. I was just going through the motions. In fact, I say, I've have been known to say before, and forgive me if it's harsh, if you're not living out your purpose, you're just marking time until you die. You're just going through the motions.
Mhm.
And well, that's certainly how it was for me.
Yes. And it's true, isn't it? Eventually, it will just suck the life out of you because, yeah, there's a different level of energy that when we do feel excited about something that we are working on, we're contributing, it's interesting, it motivates you. And as you have already hinted, it may not necessarily mean you have to change direction completely. It may just be understanding what your core values are. And I'd love in a moment for you to share a little bit about the importance of knowing core values, changing your environment, changing if you're in business, it may be because you've inadvertently started to work with clients who just don't light you up. I'm pretty sure, Amanda, that when you think about your business, you have got an ideal client who you love to work with. And the others, there's plenty of business for other coaches and consultants who may work in a similar industry to you. It's important, isn't it? So explain a little bit about values, core values. What are they and how important is it for us to know what our core values are?
I did a wonderful, wonderful interview. In fact, three, three interviews with this wonderful woman called Jackie Lefebvre, and she she was doing her PhD in values, and she was describing that your values filter. So you've got your values and your beliefs, and they all kind of your values live in your subconscious, and they filter everything that you do, similar to how your beliefs filter what you do.
Mhm.
So if something she gave an example of someone going to the railway station. They couldn't apply for a job because they believed that it would be too expensive for them to get to work on the train. That was their belief, and their values were about I, you know, doing everything as cheaply as possible, saving money, being very careful around money.
Yes.
So our values and our beliefs, they filter everything that we do and how we respond to things, and they filter they affect our conscious actions.
Mhm. Mhm. And if someone's not aware of that, they cannot notice or they can't see great opportunities which may be in front of them,
Mm.
a great
Yeah.
role, a great client, if they're in business, or just even the structure that they're working in. And so you can't do that intentionally. I think being clear on your values is going to enable you to live more intentionally. And when you live intentionally, that's when you, as you mentioned, you become far more motivated, you feel fulfilled, you love your work, and you really are then living the purpose for which you were created to live, as you so beautifully have said. And so that's a great place to start, isn't it, for someone? Are you living your values?
Absolutely. And you'll know when you're not, because things just feel a bit off. You think you might be uh, doing something and it just feels a bit icky, because it's just not aligning to who you subconsciously know that you are.
Yes. Yes. You know, another thing that I think can almost or help you identify what's so important for you. You talked about being passionate about something, being driven, motivated. On the opposite end of the scale, if something happens that really challenges your core values, you can't help but stand up and speak up.
Exactly.
Isn't it? Because
Yeah.
so maybe someone is finding that things are happening and they're just not happy. And that is because some of your core values in your workplace have been challenged. I remember years ago, I worked with someone, Amanda, who loved her role, and new management came in, changed some of the ways in which they approached work. And she said, look, a job I love, I don't like anymore. And when, we were able to pinpoint, she realized her leadership has no longer allowed her to have deep connections with clients, go and visit them, follow up phone calls to make sure that they, were happy and what could she do for them. It was just a only connect, when a client contacts us. She said, how can I develop solid relationships? So it could be changes in the workplace that have
Good.
been made
Yep.
that
Good.
have made an impact.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So if someone is thinking about, you know what, everything that Amanda has said today is just so true. I need to make a move. I know that you've got a wonderful program that you've developed and offer. Can you share a little bit more about that program, and so that people are a little bit more familiar? And then, of course, we'll give some further details on how people can reach out to you. So tell us about your program.
Oh, thank you. Sure. It is called the Purpose Vision Future program. And it is a 12-week program. It consists partly of an online self-paced video course and coaching sessions with me. And it culminates in a 90-minute Discover Your Life's Purpose session, where we bring everything together and help you discover your life's purpose and how to put it into action. Um, yeah, so it takes you through the three steps you need to discover your purpose, which is to examine your present, examine your past, and examine your passions and dreams. And then it helps you to look into, once you've discovered your purpose, how you might like to put it into action. Because not everyone is able to change careers or change jobs. You know, perhaps someone needs to keep working to pay the bills. So, for example, if their purpose was to care for animals, they might volunteer on the weekends and live it out that way.
Yes.
Donate to something, or so it doesn't have to necessarily be career change, although it often is. You can live out your purpose some other way.
Yes. And as I mentioned at the beginning in the introduction, this could also be for someone who's working in her business
Mm.
and has suddenly realized I've created something that I'm really not enjoying anymore. I used to enjoy it. And it may very well be, as you mentioned, clarifying some of the really important things so that you can be intentional about it. Often I know as entrepreneurs, we can continue just to leap forward with opportunities and so forth. And then all of a sudden we find out, oh, I've actually created something which because many of us love the freedom aspect of things, don't we, and being
Oh, yeah.
running our own business. But it's like, I don't have that sense of freedom that I used to have. And so it's getting really clear on some of those structures. And I think that process would be incredibly beneficial for women who had their own business, or even maybe a bit of both. I know we used to call that portfolio career. I'm not sure if that's still a term, but there may be some listeners who are not just working in corporate, but also have a part-time business which they're trying to run. So again, getting clear on purpose allows you to bring the best. And I'm going to ask you this. When you started to live out your purpose energetically, productivity and all that, chalk and cheese, isn't it? So much different how you show up.
It's like someone switched the light on. It was so it was so different. And I've been out of my purpose a little bit for the last few years, and because I had some misleading advice and about how I should live it out. And so I'm now back in it. And people are saying to me, gosh, we haven't seen you this excited for a long time. We haven't seen you this on fire, this motivated for ages. It's like, yep, I'm back on track now.
Mm. Wonderful,
So,
wonderful. So if someone wants to get back on track, can you share a website and how best they can connect with you?
well, the best way, my website's sort of in transition at the moment, but the best way to contact me is reach out to me at by email, info@purposevisionfuture.com. And we can get on a 30-minute, no strings attached, free discovery call and just have a chat, see how I can support you.
Fantastic. Do you want to share that email address one more time, Amanda?
info@purposevisionfuture.com.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. When you speak about your purpose, your face just lights up. So we really can tell you are living your purpose. And we hope that those people who are listening today, if they've resonated with some of the things that you shared earlier, when you were realizing, you know what, this role that I'm in is just not lighting me up anymore, really encourage you to connect with Amanda. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, it's Anne-Marie. Before I go, are you a coach or a consultant who feels like the world's best kept secret? Your experience is vast, yet secretly you're frustrated because despite all of your hard work, you're just not getting the visibility, leads, or new clients you'd hope for, and you don't know why? I've created free training and resources that'll help you build visibility, generate leads, and enroll dream clients with ease because you're seen as a trusted authority, even in a crowded marketplace. And you've positioned yourself as the choice versus just a choice with your unique, uncopyable, and unforgettable brand and message. And you're able to nurture listeners into leads from your podcast, even from your first episode. To access these free resources, go to ambitiousentrepreneurnetwork.com/community. That's ambitiousentrepreneurnetwork.com/community.